All right, let's jump right in. For the last 20 years, ASEAN's economic growth has been, well, nothing short of spectacular. But that very success is now at a crossroads. The energy system that powered this incredible rise is now threatening to become an anchor, holding the entire region back. So today, we're not just here to talk about a problem, we're laying out a clear strategy to redesign this system and lock in a new competitive edge for the future.
I mean, think about it. The 10 ASEAN nations, they're home to 650 million people. We're talking about some of the most dynamic economies on the planet. As a bloc, it's the fourth largest energy consumer in the world, and its appetite for power is just soaring. This is a region that is absolutely poised for greatness, a global manufacturing hub with truly incredible resources, both human and natural. And that brings us to the central paradox we have to solve today. With all of this forward momentum, all this incredible potential, why is the region's energy supply still stuck in the past? It's the major roadblock standing in the way of its full potential.
Okay, so let's start with the diagnosis. We really need to unpack this strange contradiction that's sitting right at the heart of ASEAN's energy reality. First, just wrap your head around the sheer scale of demand we're dealing with. Between 2021 and 2025, that's just a 4-year window. Electricity consumption in the region shot up by an incredible 24%. That is more than double the global average. That's the pace of progress we have to keep up with.
Now, this is where the core problem really comes into focus. As that demand is surging, look at how it's being met. A staggering 70 to 80% of all that new power is coming from fossil fuels. And here's the real kicker. It's not because renewables are expensive. In fact, they're often the cheapest option out there. So what does that tell you? It tells us that something in the system is fundamentally broken, and it's stopping the region from cashing in on low-cost, clean energy. And look, this isn't some new trend. It's a deep-seated reality. Right now, over 80% of the entire primary energy supply for the Asia-Pacific region comes from fossil fuels. This dependence locks the region into wild price swings and high carbon intensity at the exact moment the rest of the world is sprinting in the other direction. So what is this structural problem? Well, the answer really lies in the way the power markets themselves were designed. These are systems that were built for a completely different era, with different technologies and, frankly, different priorities. You see, in most of the region, the power markets run on what's called a single buyer model. Basically, this means one big national utility, usually owned by the state, is the only game in town. It's the sole purchaser of all electricity. Now, this model was brilliant back in the 90s and 2000s for getting power plants built quickly. But today, it's just not built for the flexible, decentralized, and fast-moving energy system we need. And the main tool in this single buyer model's toolbox is the long-term power purchase agreement, or PPA. Think of these as ironclad contracts designed to give investors in big coal and gas plants a guaranteed payday for 20, sometimes 30 years. But that very stability that was once a strength has now become a straitjacket, preventing the whole system from adapting to cheaper, more nimble renewable energy. And here's how that rigidity messes things up in the real world. A lot of these old contracts have what are called take-or-pay clauses. This means the utility is forced to buy expensive power from a fossil fuel plant even when the sun is shining and clean solar power is basically free. You add to that regulated prices that hide the true cost of things, and grids that weren't built for renewables, and you've got a system that actually punishes investment in clean energy. So that's the diagnosis. It's a tough pill to swallow. But the good news is, this condition is absolutely treatable. A recent Boston Consulting Group report actually lays out a really clear, pragmatic prescription for how to fix this. It's a measured, step-by-step path forward. It starts with unbundling the big utilities to create a more level playing field. Then you start piloting new markets to bring in some healthy competition, and you make those old contracts more flexible so they reward the cheapest power source, which is often renewables. You integrate the regional grids for better reliability, you protect vulnerable consumers from price shocks, and finally, you introduce things like carbon attributes to create new revenue streams that make clean energy projects much more attractive to investors. And here's the really crucial point. This is not about a radical, burn-it-all-down overhaul. These reforms are designed to be pragmatic. They can evolve the existing single-buyer model to make it fit for the 21st century. This way, you can attract huge amounts of private investment without going through a full and often politically painful market liberalization. But listen, market reform is only one piece of the puzzle.
It's a big piece, but it's not everything. It has to be paired with a very clear financing strategy and a bold new industrial vision for the entire region. The scale here is just immense. To get on track with the Paris Agreement goals, the ASEAN region needs to mobilize $1.5 trillion in investment by 2030. Now, that number sounds huge, but don't think of it as a cost. Think of it as the single largest investment opportunity of our generation. And we can't rely on old-school financing for this. We've got to get innovative. Things like the Just Energy Transition Partnerships, the JTPs in Vietnam and Indonesia, they're already showing the way by blending public and private money. And other tools are going to be just as crucial, like debt for nature swaps and robust carbon markets that finally put a real price on pollution. All this investment can then fuel a brand new industrial strategy. And this idea of creating a network of net zero industrial parks, it's a total game changer. These parks would become hubs, connecting the region's unique strengths, Indonesia's minerals, Vietnam's manufacturing power, Singapore's financial muscle, to build this powerful, self-sustaining, clean technology ecosystem. Which brings us to the payoff. Why do all this? Why does it matter so much? Because this isn't just about hitting climate targets. This is about securing a new and lasting competitive edge for the entire ASEAN region. Think about it. A modern, clean energy system attracts those big global companies that have their own net zero goals. It protects your economy from the crazy price swings of fossil fuels. It creates high-value, future-proof jobs in clean tech. In short, it builds a resilient, modern, and fiercely competitive manufacturing base for the 21st century. And make no mistake, the world is already voting with its checkbooks. A recent poll found that half of global executives are seriously thinking about moving their operations specifically to get better access to renewable energy. Clean power isn't a nice-to-have anymore. It is a fundamental driver of foreign investment, period. So the choice here is crystal clear. The road to a more competitive, a more resilient, and a more prosperous future for ASEAN is paved with clean energy. The question is no longer if this transition is going to happen, but who is going to lead it. So, will the region work together to grab this incredible opportunity? Or will it let old habits leave it falling behind? The time to decide is right now.